Alright, welcome back to geometry. This is scoring lesson 65 and 66. And hopefully we can address all the questions that you had and make some headway on this new format. So lesson 65 is what we're scoring. Open your books to that. It'd be nice if you have your homework paper with you and then also your book open to that so you can read along in the problems as we go through these. Lesson 65, problem number 1, that is a problem for a lot of people, and it is a difficult problem, can be. We kind of gloss over some of these, but this is a rhombus. Well, you're assuming it's a rhombus. To be a rhombus, those two marked angles would need to add together and then be 90 degrees. The sum of the first angle and the sum of the second angle added together is 90 degrees. The reason for that is because diagonals of a rhombus bisect the angle. They're angle bisectors. So the x squared minus 2x also would apply to the one right above it. And then that's a triangle. Remember, the diagonals of a rhombus also are perpendicular. So that's a 90-degree corner in the middle. So x squared minus 2x, and I'll write this up here. X squared minus 2x plus 2x squared minus 190 equals 90. That is the setup. This angle plus this angle equal 90. And then you rearrange that into a trinomial, so it's 3x squared plus minus 2x, that is, minus 2x minus 280, because we brought the 90 over here, equals 0. So that's the setup. You have to do this factoring thing. So one of these terms multiplied, these two terms multiplied together equals 0. So one of these terms has to be 0. And the terms are x on one side and 3x on the other, so you get 3x squared. And then you need factors that multiplied together equal 280 and added together. And it gets complicated. Right in here is the trick, but it is negative 10 and positive 28. 10 times 28 is this, and if you multiply these back together, you will end up with 2x, negative 2x in the middle. Take my word for it and work that step out right here to here. Work that on your own, but 10 and 28 are the factors that added together equal, multiplied together equal 280, and then added together with these other 3x in here, it equals negative 2x in the middle for the middle term. So this one makes a negative answer, which we don't like. I like this one, x minus 10 equals 0. We're going to pretend that this factor equals 0. So x equals 10. And if you put that back in the answer key, you will get the right answer. But they're actually asking for x equals 10, so that's the answer for number 1. All right, keep going. Number 6. Number 6 is pretty simple. The speed at which a sailboat moves over the water depends on both the current of the water and the wind. Suppose the wind is blowing at 12, the current is flowing at 3. The opposite direction, of course, 9 miles per hour is the answer. Number 7 was a question for some people, Cody, and maybe some others. So listen up. This is a rhombus. Remember, the diagonals of a rhombus are 90 degrees. They're perpendicular. So I look at triangles in there, right triangles. Let's erase, let's go over here for right now. Bad rhombus, but this is a 90-degree angle, so it's a right triangle. With this being 12, then with this being 12 centimeters from here to here, that means this leg right here is 6. So you pull this triangle out right here, and you have a right triangle with a long leg of 6 and a short leg of 2.5, because this whole thing is 5. 6, 2.5, that will get you this hypotenuse. With the Pythagorean theorem, 6 squared plus 2.5 squared equals a number. Get that times 4 for the perimeter, and you will get 26. Answer to number 7 is 26 centimeters. All right, number 8. The vertices of quadrilateral L, M, N, P are as given: 2 and 2, negative 4 and 1, negative 3 and negative 5, and 3 and negative 4. Classify this quadrilateral if you put that in, graph that answer, graph that question, you will get all congruent sides. They're all the square root of 37 if you use the distance formula. And the slopes are opposite reciprocals. So that means that the shape has congruent side lengths and the diagonals meet at a 90 degrees. They're perpendicular to each other. Opposite reciprocals are perpendicular to each other. If you have a shape that has congruent sides and perpendicular diagonals, then it is a square. So the shape is a square for number 8. Number 10, find the measure of angle AXD in the circle at right. That is 20.5 degrees. 20.5 degrees. Take 22 and add 19 to that, divided by 2, and you get the angle, the measure of the angle X. 20.5 for number 10. All right, moving on, number 20. If the opposite angles of a parallelogram are supplementary, prove that the parallelogram is a rectangle. Use the diagram to help. Angle 1, 2, 3, and 4 as given. So if opposite angles are supplementary, then the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. That's the definition of supplementary. And since the shape is a parallelogram, then the opposite angles must be equal. So angle 1 plus angle 3 equals 180. That's the same as going x plus x equals 180 because they're equal. This means that each angle must measure 90, which proves that it's a rectangle. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Number 22. 22 is like the other problem we had. Again, you take the measure of the angles, the two measures of the angles, and add them together and divide them by 2. But you'll solve for x. So what you get is, let me write it up here if I can. Time to erase. Where's my eraser? All right, so measure of 110 degrees is the measure of that inside angle there, and that is equal to, if you remember the formula, that is equal to the measure of the two other angles divided by 2. So 1/2 of the two angles, 37 and plus 5x plus 3. Is that right? 5x plus 3, yes. So ignore that, please. Combine these together. You can combine the 37 and the 3, and that's 40. So you have, and then get rid of this 1/2. The best way I know to do it, or the easiest way, is just to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. So take this side times 2 and take this side times 2. If you take this side times 2, that does away with this because 1/2 times 2 is equal. This becomes 220. So 220 degrees equals 40 plus 5x. Take the 40 over here, you get 180 equals 5x. So x equals 180 divided by 5, whatever that is, happens to be 36. X equals 36. That is the answer for 22. X equals 36. All right, number 26 is kind of tricky again as well. Sweater uses rhombuses to make its design as shown. I think that's an Argyle pattern. Argyle sweater. So find the measure of angle 1. The measure of angle 1 is going to be equal to the measure of angle that says 2x. But again, since this is a rhombus, then the two angles together, whoops, that was my mic. The two angles together, 2x plus 3x, is going to equal 180. And that may be difficult to imagine or picture, but can you see me over here? I think you can. 2x and 3x with the rhombus. 2x here and 3x here. Remember that the diagonals of a rhombus, we'll go 3x up here, like that. The diagonals of a rhombus, and the whole thing is 2x. The diagonals of a rhombus are a right angle. Also, they bisect this corner, so this plus this equals 2x, or 3x. This equals this equals this. Together, they're 2x. This is 90. So if you take these two, or let's do a triangle here, let's think of this triangle right here. If you, this is 90 degrees, and then this plus this equals 90 degrees. Well, if you have this and double it, and you have this and double it, then this and this must equal 180. So 2x plus 3x equals 180. 2x plus 3x equals 180. And that should get you what you need to know. If you solve that again, that happens to be 5x equals 180, which is what we just said down here, incidentally. That's funny. Right there and right there, two different problems. X equals 36 on this problem as well, but they're asking for the measure of angle 1, which is the same as the measure of angle 2x. So 36 times 2 is 72, and that is the measure of angle 1. Number 26, the answer is 72 degrees for the measure of angle 1. All right, 28. Find the measure of arc AC in the figure. Line L is tangent to the circle. And the measure of AC, arc AC that is 70 degrees. That's the small arc going around. Remember, that's half of, or double that angle in there, inscribed angle. All right, last one. In the diagram, GJ is a radius of circle G. Is HJ tangent to circle G? Explain how you know. Remember that if it is tangent, then the radius and that tangent line would be 90 degrees, would be perpendicular. So you could use the Pythagorean theorem and see if 6 squared plus 12 squared equals 14 squared, and it does not. And it doesn't look like it's a right angle, but again, you need to go by the information, not just the drawing. So since 6 squared plus 12 squared does not equal 14 squared, it's bigger than that, or 14 squared is bigger, then that is an obtuse angle. So that's how you know. All right. Hope that helps for lesson 65. We are going to lesson 66 quickly. Lesson 66, number 2. Lesson 66, number 2. Big numbers here. Rock formation in Ireland is called the Giant's Causeway. We should ask Susanna if she's been to the Giant's Causeway. It's made up of about 40,000 columns of rock that formed as lava cooled after a volcanic eruption. Most of the columns are hexagonal with average side lengths of 14 inches and apothem. That bell is annoying. Apothem, that is 7 to the square root of 3 inches long. Just a note on apothem. I call it apothem. I have noticed a lot of people call it apothem. The dictionary that I looked at says apothem, but the internet said apothem, and a lot of other people said apothem. I don't like to say apothem. It sounds like I'm trying to say that I saw a pothum in the tree when I have a big lift. So I'm going to say apothem. You can say how you want. Apothem, remember, is the perpendicular distance in a regular polygon. So like this, from the center down, that is the apothem. So the apothem is 7 to the square root of 3, the proximate area covered by the top surface of the 40,000 stone columns. You just have to do the math, and you come up with 20 million square inches. Now, I would probably want to put that into square feet, but the book has it leaves it in square inches. 20 million square inches is the answer. You're using the formula to find the area of a regular polygon, then that is 1/2 times apothem times the perimeter. And you use that to find the perimeter, and then multiply it times 40,000 when you get to the end. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, is this statement true always, sometimes, or never true? A rhombus is a rectangle. Always true, sometimes true, or never true? And the answer is sometimes. A rhombus is sometimes a rectangle, not always, but sometimes. Find the values of x. No, not that one. Let's go to number 6. Number 6, some people had questions on. Assuming that an amateur archer's arrow is equally likely to strike anywhere on the target, and has a 50% chance of missing the target altogether, what is the probability of the archer hitting a bullseye in this target? All right, so it's 2 steps really. the first step is you need to find out what is the probability of hitting the bullseye in the target, and then you deal with the 50% of missing the target altogether. Deal with that later. So first, look at what's the probability of him hitting the bullseye, if he's equally likely to hit it anywhere on there. Now remember, probability is the chance, your desired outcome on top, divided by the total possible outcomes. So remember, a die, here's a die, I don't know if you can see it. Let's make sure you can see it right there. You see that die. So there's 6 sides to this die, like every other normal shaped die. It's a cube. And if I say, what are the chances of rolling a 2? My desired outcome is one thing. It's a specific thing. It's to get a 2. The total possible chances are 6, so it's 1 in 6. If I say, what are the chances of getting a 4 or a 5, then I say, what are my outcomes? My desired outcome is 2 different numbers. So I have 2 chances of getting one of my desired outcomes, and the total chances are still 6. So that's 1/3. I have a 1/3 chance, 1 in 3, 33% chance of getting a, whatever I said, 4 and a 5, or what I said, 2, either number. Now, so to get that answer, you need to figure the area of the little circle and divide that by the area of the big circle. That will tell you the desired outcome is the bullseye. What is the desired outcome? What's the area of the small thing divided by the area of the big one? That's the chance in the target. Now, dealing with this 50%, you simply take the probability of getting the bullseye and take it times 1/2 or times 50%. That will lower your odds of getting the bullseye because you take into consideration you may miss the target altogether. It's kind of the same thing as asking, what are the chances that I will roll a 5 and then a 1 consecutively? So I want to roll and I want to get a 5, and then I want to roll on my second roll, I want to get a 1. What are the chances of that? And so you take 1/6 times 1/6, so it's 1/36 or whatever it is. You take they stack up and you multiply the chances together to get multiple scenarios. All that to say, the answer for number 6 is, the first one is 1/82. That is simplified the area of the small triangle divided by the area of the big triangle. The area of the small triangle is 4, the area of the big triangle is 334. If you simplify that, it's 1/81. Take 1/81, or 1/81 in a fraction, times 1/2, and you get 1/162, or the decimal equivalent is 0.00617. Turn that into a percentage, and you get a 0.617%. So the answer for number 6 is either 1/162 or 0.00617 or 0.617%. Remember to take a decimal, turn it into percent. You move it 2 times over. So it's either one of these 3. Is a good answer for number 6. Number 11. Find the value of x in the circle at right. X equals 72 degrees. That should be pretty simple. Number 16. Find the perimeter of a regular heptagon with side lengths that are each 77 feet long. That should be pretty simple as well. How many sides does a heptagon have? I hope you say 7. 7 times 77, 539 for 539 feet for number 16. Number 18. Use the diagram to answer the next 2 questions. So look at the diagram there. If AB equals AD and DB is bigger than AC, what kind of parallelogram is the figure? List all possibilities. All possibilities are rhombus. The sides are congruent, the diagonals are not congruent, therefore the only option is a rhombus. 19. If the measure of ADC is 90 and the measure of APB is an acute angle, what kind of parallelogram is the figure? Rectangle is the only one left. The only option for that. Answer to number 19 is rectangle. All right, number 20. Which formula is equivalent to the formula A equals 1/2 of apothem times perimeter? That's the area formula for a regular polygon. And they're asking which formula is equivalent, so you have to solve for those different answers. If you solve for A, you get A equals 2A divided by P. And we could work that out, but we're not going to. The answer is, multiple choice, the answer is D, but also B. If you solve for big P, that is the perimeter, if you solve for that, you'll get 2A, big A, that is 2 times the area divided by the apothem. You're just rearranging those equations. So D, letter D, D as in dog, or B as in boy, either one is correct. All right, 25, last one. Center of the circle of a circle is A. Josie says that she's determined that if Fy and Xh are tangent lines at X and Y respectively, then they must be parallel because of so and so. Why is her conjecture false? The answer is that although AYF and AXH are both right angles, it is not known that YA and X are collinear. That is why her conjecture is false. They may not be collinear. All right, I hope that helps. We're going to try to do something different maybe soon, do more of a live something to get our questions answered and our homework scored. But for now, this is what we're doing. So take this and score your homework. And if you had a question on one, look at what we did here and figure it out. Try to figure it out. If you still have questions, call up one of your fellow students that you think maybe doesn't have a question about it and ask them. All right, thanks.